we'll generally sort of start with a baseline. So when we talk about baseline, it's what does your lifestyle cost you?
Hi, I'm Mark Classic from Accounting Professionals, and I'd like to welcome everyone to our new podcast, Beyond the Balance Sheet. In today's episode, we'll get to know Senior Client Manager Sarah Schubert from our office and how she prepares forecasts in conjunction with our clients. Later on, we'll be talking to Capstone Marketing's Mick Donoghue about the benefits of marketing strategies. All right, welcome Sarah. This is the first guest on the first podcast from the Beyond the Balance Sheet series. Just for those people out there that haven't run into you in the office, can you just give us a little bit of a background as how you wound up at Accounting Professionals?
Sure. So I'm originally from Gundagai, so country New South Wales, which I know you're familiar with because Wagga's a little hop, step, jump away. Yeah, so I moved there when I was 7 and then I grew up there until I was 24. It's a great little town. Everyone sort of knows each other, a little bit too much in some instances. And then sort of as I got out of high school, I wasn't really quite sure what I wanted to do. I'd worked at McDonald's from when I was 13 till 18, and I thought I don't want to work there anymore, but I don't really want to go to uni and just rock up and not know what I'm doing. So I worked at the Dog on the Tucker Box, funnily enough, because it's pretty original for someone that lives in Gundagai.
I think there's two things about Gundagai that people relate to, the Dog on the Tucker Box and the Snake Gully Cup.
Oh, I was going to say that, well, there's 3 then, because everyone always sings the Road to Gundagai song to me when they know I'm from Gundagai. Yeah, I worked there for a couple of years, and then I remember my cousin said to me, I was like, oh, I don't really know what I want to do, but I don't want to do this anymore. And he said, oh, the way I think about it is you think about things that you like doing. And I was like, okay, well, I like going out. I can't really make a job out of that. I like money and I like telling people what to do, so maybe I'll be an accountant. So I applied and then I got in at 20. So I went to CSU in Wagga and I sort of spent the first semester there obviously studying, and got into the first semester and I'd already spent 2 years out of high school earning money, so being on Centrelink while studying wasn't really helping me with my lifestyle that I had gotten accustomed to. So I went and got a job at an accounting firm in Wagga. They were really great. I was there for 4 years, and then my partner and I decided that we might do a sea change and head to Sydney, Manly specifically, which was amazing. I got a job in the city there, which again was another great experience. Worked with a lot of different clients to what you would find obviously in the country. So in the country we worked with a lot of primary producers, so farmers, a lot of transport from sort of around Tumut. And then when I moved to Sydney, we sort of were more working with sort of self-managed super funds, high net wealth individuals. So it was, another good experience. But unfortunately, Sydney life is quite expensive. So the next best stop was the South Coast, Wollongong. And then
here
I am. I interviewed here with you. It was online on a Skype call.
About 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago. And I've been here ever since.
Partner, now husband.
Partner, now husband. So in the last 10 years, obviously we've had a lot going on. So I started in April 2015 and sort of worked full-time. I came in as a client relationship manager. It was my first time actually having exposure to clients, so it was quite a big jump for me, but it was really good. A lot of the clients I worked with then I'm still working with now, which is incredible. And in December 2017 I went on maternity leave. So I did that for 6 months, came back, was working for 18 months, went on maternity leave again for another 6 months, worked for another 18 months, went on maternity leave again, and now I've been back since June 2022.
About 18 months, I think.
It's been about 18 months. So sort of been in and out of the office over the last 10 years, but no more children, so you've got me back a little bit more, unfortunately for you and for our clients.
Oh, very good. Very interesting backstory.
Yes.
What would you think your, accounting superpower is?
Oh, goodness. I don't know if it's accounting specific. I think my superpower is probably being able to connect with my clients, which, you don't have to be an accountant to do. But yeah, maybe I think that's my superpower, that I can really, build a connection with them, empathise with them, understand them, and try and help them.
Very good. And I think those clients that are listening to this, will certainly attest to that.
I hope so.
So in terms of your work and what we're doing in the office at the moment, can you let sort of the audience know what sort of, areas you're focusing on at the moment with clients?
Yeah, so obviously we've got a range of services we provide here. Compliance, which is sort of tax, year-end, BASs, single touch payroll, TPAs. There's all these acronyms that people listening are going to be like, I don't know what that means. But then we have within our team and a couple of other teams in the office, we've got a heavy advisory offering, which is probably something that I'd work in a lot more than probably the compliance side. At the end of June specifically, which is sort of where we are, we spend a lot of time with our clients in quarterly and monthly meetings, looking at what they've sort of done for the last 12 months, how they've gone, what they've achieved. But then at the same time, it's like, you've done really good in the last 12 months, but now let's look at the next 12 months and what do we want to achieve. So we spend a lot of time sort of looking back at their business plan, refreshing what their sort of goals are. As part of that, we'll build out a forecast. We will generally sort of start with a baseline. So when we talk about baseline, it's what does your lifestyle cost you? So we've got a personal household budget that we use.
I think that's a part of the unique process is actually, and probably two parts to that. One is calling it a forecast rather than a budget. I think as soon as clients hear the word budget, there's sort of negative connotations.
I have to stay within this.
Yeah, and to me, it's a little bit restrictive. They're restricted by a budget, where a forecast is a much more positive outlook. This is what we can achieve as to this is what we can and can't do. So certainly over the last few years, we've got into that habit of calling it a forecast as opposed to a budget. And like you mentioned before, it probably starts at the household level, because really the first question that we ask clients is, what does the business need to provide for you for your personal life financially? And if we don't know the answer to that question, then we don't know
how much the business needs to earn.
Exactly right.
Yeah, it'll start with looking at what your personal lifestyle needs to be at a minimum, and then hopefully what you would like it to be as sort of the maximum. My life cost me, say, $100,000, but I'm not going on any holidays. So can we add another $50,000 in there so I can go to Europe for a month with the family? We'll look at that. Once we know what a business owner wants to earn for that year, we'll then look at their fixed costs in their business. We'll add that on, and then we'll look at any variable costs that they have. There can be, materials that may only come in based on income, so not generally fixed. They may have wages that they only pay, again, based on their income. So if you think about hospitality, you might put on more stuff over Christmas or the holidays or something like that. So there's always going to be those variable costs which we need to factor in. And then ultimately what we do then is we've worked up all those numbers to look at what the turnover needs to be. And then we'll spend a bit of time looking at that turnover, the revenue that business needs to generate. One, is that a real number? Can the business do it? Have they done it before? Well, if they've done it before, then we would assume that yes, they can do it again. If they haven't done it before, then we need to work out a plan to potentially getting them there.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, that we sort of work from the bottom up, and then we get to that top number is often quite a big number that can be quite scary for clients, particularly if it's a number that a revenue number that they haven't achieved before, or they're new to business and they're still a little bit inexperienced. So that number can be daunting, and there is sort of an element of gut feel initially. Is this possible? If it's not possible, then we may go back and look at our costs. But if there's a feeling that it is possible, then the next step, I guess, is to break that down, that revenue target down into smaller chunks.
Yeah, definitely. That'll vary based on the industry always. You know, if you're looking at a building industry, for example, generally they'll have a number of houses that they've already sort of locked into their pipeline, and then as part of that they know when they're going to draw down on the various stages of the build, so that income can be quite fixed, and then we can see the gaps straight away. We might need to get some more customers in, more houses to build. These are the months we're going to start getting low.
So there's a couple of different industries. One is like a membership or a subscription-based industry. How many? It might be a gym, for example. How many members do we need? What's the average membership? Okay, we've got 600 members to achieve our revenue target. We need 700. What are the activities we need to do to build that number, and then what impact it has on the end outcome.
Definitely. Yeah, I think one of the things with sales is at least having a little bit of a pipeline of knowledge of what they have, and then working back from there to see how we might bridge that gap.
Yeah. And the forecast can change throughout the year. The conditions in the business or your personal needs and requirements aren't going to be the same at the end of the financial year as they are in the beginning. So probably the other thing to keep in mind is that it's a moving it's a live document. It can be updated as circumstances change. You might have key employees go on maternity leave, for example, changes the forecast, or recruiting in additional talent into the business that also changes the forecast. So I think it's important when we are going through that planning process that it is a plan and it is subject to change depending on what's happening sort of within the business, but more importantly outside of the business as well.
Yeah, there to help them make decisions, really, data-driven decisions.
Yep, and also a plan, some sort of direction as to what the next financial year looks like and beyond.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for joining us, Sarah. It's been a very interesting and entertaining chat. I think there's a lot to take away from that, and really appreciate you being our first guest on Beyond the Balance Sheet podcast.
Happy to be here.
Welcome, Mick, to the Beyond the Balance Sheet podcast. Thanks for taking the time out to meet with us today.
Thanks for having me.
No worries. We're going to have a bit of a chat about the importance of a marketing strategy in the context of business planning. So before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your business, Capstone Marketing?
Yeah, started over 10 years ago, and it's really, we're problem solvers, I like to explain it as. We're there to help our clients work through their problems. That could mean helping them understand who their customers are, their ideal customer that is, and where they are, how they can stand out from the crowd, from their competitors, and importantly, how they get found online. That's kind of the key.
Very good. Probably one of the questions that we often get asked by clients is, what's the difference between marketing and advertising?
Yeah. We get a lot as well. I guess for me, marketing is really the broader overview, taking a look at the business. Where are they now? Where do they want to be? How are they going to get there? So working through a kind of a structured process, looking at the 3 C's, I like to call them. Looking at customers, competitors, and the company themselves. Strengths and weaknesses, and really, come up with that unique position for the business so they can stand out from the crowd. Whereas advertising is all about letting people know, promoting the business, and it's just one of the many tactics we have now to promote the business.
Yeah. So earlier on the podcast, we were talking to Sarah. We went through the steps in building a financial forecast.
Yes.
What are the steps involved in sort of building a marketing strategy or a marketing plan?
Yeah. Look. Again, to use a building analogy, you don't go and build a new house without a plan. You'll go and see an architect, get the plans together, and this is what I want it to look like. Similarly, with a marketing plan, it's really about making sure that it aligns to the business's goals. Where does that business want to be, and then just following those steps around. Looking at the company itself, what works well right now, and what they need to do differently. Look at our ideal customer and where they are, and importantly, how we can reach them, and then also competitors. So, very important, the 3 C's, and then it's about segmenting that audience, targeting, and the positioning of the company. And then once we've done that that homework, I guess it's about how do we promote the business, and that's where those tactics come in online, whether it's through a website and website content, keywords. SEO is that dark art that people might have heard the term SEO, and what is that? But also social media content marketing plays a big hand in moving forward.
And when you're working with businesses, is your role simply to prepare the strategy, or is it to prepare the strategy and then to go out and execute it, or is it a little bit of both?
Bit of both, depending on the client. I mean, getting back to our business model is about helping clients understanding what their needs are. Some of our clients are big enough to have their own marketing area, or they might have someone in the business that has a bit of flair for marketing, so we'll work with them to develop the plan, and they may do some of the doing, or we can do it all, or a hybrid model in between.
Yes. So if a business approaches you, or often they'll approach us in relation to marketing, and the marketing strategy forms a significant part of the overall business plan, and we do a lot of work with clients in creating a business plan, and typically those business plans are structured into a finance component, an operations component, a marketing component or a sales component, and then a strategic component. In relation to the marketing component, what are some of the key things that they need to think about, say, prior to having a meeting, to help facilitate the process, I guess?
Yeah, look, I think it's really about what makes them unique. What is it about their business that someone would want to buy their products or services compared to the competitor down the road. Yeah, really just examining all facets of their business to make sure that they are listening to their customers. What are the problems that their customers or clients have, and how do I as a company address those?
Yeah, and probably another question that we get asked repeatedly is how do we measure the success of a marketing plan or an advertising campaign? Often when we're talking to clients, the marketing budget is the first item that gets scrubbed from the forecast. And I guess it can be a little bit hard to measure what impact the marketing strategy is having.
Good question. Certainly from our point of view, it's about building the marketing strategy closely with the business plan. What is the business trying to achieve, and then making sure that the marketing tactics align to that. And then always say what gets measured gets done. So I love the cricket analogy with the run rate. Side A bats first and they get 300 runs. Side B comes in and they know they have to get X runs per over to reach that. So every over they're checking in: am I on the run rate? Am I over it? Am I underneath it? So putting in goals like that and measures. So it could be things like followers on social media might be one, but more importantly for the business, it might be how much new business revenue am I generating, or from an existing client, how much growth am I getting out of existing clients. So it's really about looking at those numbers, understanding what the benchmarks are before you do your intervention, and then going back and reviewing it afterwards to see what's happened.
Yeah, and I guess there can be a bit of a time lag between when the strategy is implemented as to when you then start seeing the results.
Yes.
And often we're looking for an immediate spike in revenue, and that's the cue that the plan is working.
Yes.
But often it may not happen for another 12 months time, and it's a potential customer or a client is ready to buy or ready to use one of your services at that point in time, and they're like, I remember these guys from 12 months ago. So it's hard to connect the actual campaign to a revenue target, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Look, it can be, and it really depends on where the client is in their business life cycle also, because you can get some immediate results with things like advertising, for example, and particularly in the digital space and online advertising. You can see some immediate results if you've done your homework and you get your markers right. You can see that, but things like content marketing and SEO in the background can take a longer time to come to fruition. So there's a bit of patience required there sometimes as well. But if they've done the homework up front, then we can be confident that we're on the right track.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that the impact of social media, and no doubt that over the last 10 or 15 or 20 years has definitely changed more so the advertising market as opposed to the marketing strategy. The strategy is the strategy, but like you said, that building awareness is the advertising part, away from traditional forms of media. We were speaking a little bit earlier about how do you get your message to cut through everybody else's messages, particularly on social media where you get bombarded with ads and it seems that your phone is listening to everything that you say.
Yeah, look, I think, it gets back to marketing 101 for me, is really understanding, who your target audience is and what their needs are, and then be where they are. There's no point having a pumping TikTok account if your customers or clients aren't on TikTok. It's really about making sure you understand, where you find your clients, and then, putting together a compelling story that helps you stand out from the crowd. Make it interesting, use of imagery, visuals, to really capture their attention.
Yeah, and I guess, and the story often doesn't end there, and I'll probably use the example of a client that's looking at using their marketing campaign, say, to drive potential customers to their website, and it can be very successful in people landing on the page and having lots of hits, but then they're not buying from there. So it's one thing to drag people into your business, but you've still got to be able to convert them once they get there, whether that be through a website or an office.
Yeah, look, exactly, and that's where, if you walk into a store, bricks and mortar, and you're wanting to buy a pair of red shoes, you want to be able to go and look straight at those red shoes. It's the same as the website. You can bring somebody into your website, but if you offer them too many choices, they may not be able to find those red shoes on your website. So it's just about having a clean platform for them, when they land, and try to help them with a strong call to action, so they know where to go next and what action to take once they're on your website.
That's a good segue there, call to action. So if I'm a business owner and I'm planning to do a little bit of work on my marketing strategy, where do I start?
Yeah. Look, I think, for me, marketing to me is always about being the voice of the customer. So if they haven't done it for a while, as in have a look at their own business, I'd try to have a look at, their own business coming through the window of their customer. If they find that as a business they're talking about themselves a lot, then they need to flip that coin and start talking about their customers, looking at what their pain points are, what their problems and challenges are, and how you solve them.
Yeah, no, very good advice. Thanks for that, Mick. We're going to sort of change tack a little bit now and get you to take your expert hat off and put your business owner's hat on.
Right.
And we're going to run through a few quick questions with you, if that's okay. All right, Mick, we've got a few quick, short, sharp questions for you.
I'm scared.
Well, feel free to disclose as much or as little as you feel comfortable with. And I guess the idea of this is to give other business owners some insight as to what you're going through as a business owner, and to hear about some of your experiences and maybe relate some of your experience to what they're experiencing in their businesses. So, how did you come into being a business owner?
Yeah, it was really a bit of a natural progression, I guess. I'd worked in-house, as I call it, for government agencies and other businesses, and I just felt I'd done my time working for others, and felt like it was time to hang out my shingle and do it myself. But also, I came from a family running a small business. My dad was a butcher for 57 years, his father before him, and he always encouraged us to go out and do something, not butchering, by the way. He said there's something easier to do than that. But I kind of felt like watching that from the sidelines was training as well.
So did you always get the best cuts of meat when you were kids?
We did. I mean, look, you probably remember, and maybe some of our listeners don't, but the old Freddie Flintstone scene where the big T-bone steak lands on the side of the vehicle and it falls over. That was our house. We get the best cuts, and the T-bones were the order of the day back then. I've gone to more the eye fillets these days.
Okay, I'm more a Scotch fillet fan myself.
Okay. Fair cool.
Anyway, we'll move on. What do you think will be the biggest influence in your business, say, in the next 5 years?
Yeah, well, look, right now, it's something like artificial intelligence. AI is everywhere. So if you ask me today, I'm thinking that's in the short term the big influence. But I think things move so quickly. Whatever it is, it won't have even been invented today. Something in 5 years will be new to all of us.
And do you see AI as a threat or an opportunity?
Yeah, look, definitely an opportunity. I think there's good tools out there, and but it's about how you use it, like anything. Making sure that you still have a strategy behind your thoughts. And if everyone's asking the same questions, then you're going to get the same answers. So it's really about making sure it fits your purpose and your strategy.
What's been the best business decision that you've made?
The the best business decision, really surrounding myself with good people. You know, marketing is a broad area, and there's so many little. It's like a building. You know, you've got your plumbers and your electricians and your painters. They're all specialists in their own right. It's the same in marketing. We've got our web designers, SEO experts, ad experts, content producers. So surrounding myself with good people to ensure that I've got the best in those fields working for me has, you know, helped me open up and just, you know, work on the business rather than in the business as much.
Yeah, and I think there's a tendency for business owners to feel that they need to be the expert in all areas of their business all the time, and that's not the best outcome for the business,
right.
Clearly. And you know, people come to us because we might be the experts in accounting and tax and financings, but I think the better businesses that we see, business owners do surround themselves with people that add value and take a more team approach, and don't feel that they need to have the answer for everything. It's okay to ask other people.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. You know, that I always say I know enough to be dangerous.
Yep.
But I, you know, back 5 years ago, I was doing it all myself, and you know, but things change so quickly, and you can't stay on top of everything. And that's when I started to make those decisions about bringing in those experts, and you know, just managing the business, and became a you know, account manager, project manager, if you like.
Yep. If you had your time again, would you do anything differently?
Probably go earlier. Like I said before, I made my decision. I went when I felt it was time to run my own business, but I had so much fun, you know, most of the time. You know, I enjoy working with most of my clients. You know, so I think back, I could have done that a few years earlier, but yeah, that's probably the main thing.
Yep. Yeah. Favourite sporting team?
Up.
Oh, really?
Go the Sharks.
A little birdie did tell me there might have been a marketing conference in Vegas recently that you might have attended to.
Yeah, look, it's tough at the top. You've got, you know, there was a sporting industry conference there which I had to go to, and lo and behold, the Sharks were playing the opening round there, so that was great.
How did you find that experience?
Yeah, really good. From a number of fronts, obviously, you know, from a work point of view, looking behind the scenes at how an event like that gets pulled together, you know, the promotion of it, the event itself, really interesting. And you know, unfortunately, we didn't get the result against the Panthers on the field, but you know, there's always another day.
Yeah. Favourite holiday destination?
Anywhere with the beach and a bit of sun, I do love, but also, you know, I've got in mind to get around to the, you know, top 50 golf courses around the world, starting in Australia too. So, you know, maybe that's another bucket list item.
Have you played on any of the top 50 so far?
Yeah, look, I've still got to narrow in on who those top 50 are. It's kind of a bit of a grand plan, but you know, I always hear about the Sandbelt courses in Melbourne and Barnbougle in Tassie for starters. Obviously, there's plenty of, you know, Pebble Beach overseas would be fantastic.
Augusta,
you know,
I guess. Yeah,
Augusta, you know, the Open, anywhere the Open is played, all looks pretty challenging, and so I'd have to get my, you know, frustration sorted before I take them on, but yeah, who knows.
Yeah. What's been the best course that you've played so far, do you think?
Yeah, look, I had the opportunity to play a game of golf in Vegas as part of that trip. Played a couple of desert courses, you know, so amazing really, you know, the fairways and the greens, green. On the if you didn't hit the fairways, you're in the desert. It was just a different look altogether, so that was very enjoyable.
Oh, very good. And probably one final question, bit left field.
Right.
Is it data or data?
It's data. Got to be data, and it's tomato as well.
Okay, I agree for what it's worth. Well, thanks for joining us, Mick. I really appreciate taking the time out to not only share some marketing insights with us, but also to share some experiences that you've had as a business owner, and I'm sure our audience can take a lot away from that. So
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks for your time.
No worries.
Appreciate it.